Today, we're going to dive into a really profound question, one that sits right at the very heart of living with a chronic condition like multiple sclerosis.
How do you live with uncertainty? I mean, that's really the core of it all, isn't it? That feeling that every single day is a bit of a gamble. You just don't know what tomorrow's going to bring or what some new weird sensation might actually mean. It's the very heart of the fear that so many people experience. So, let's really dig in and explore how to navigate it.
First up, we're going to talk about what this uncertainty really feels like, why it's such a fundamental challenge for our minds, and especially how it shows up in the context of MS.
You know, our minds, they just crave stability. We want things to be predictable. But MS, well, it's often a relapsing remitting disease, which basically forces you to face constant, unpredictable change. And it's this fundamental clash between our deep need for security and the reality of the condition that makes the uncertainty so incredibly tough to handle.
Now, this general feeling of uncertainty, it's not just one big, vague cloud of anxiety. It actually breaks down into some very specific, very real, and super common fears. Let's put a name to them.
The source material we're looking at really highlights these three main fears. First, there's the fear of cognitive loss. You're not just worried about your legs, but about your mind, your memory, your ability to focus. Then you've got the fear of losing your physical independence, the ability to go to work, to be a parent, or to just move around freely. And finally, there's a fear that I think a lot of people feel so deeply, the fear of becoming a burden on the people you love the most. Okay, this right here is a crucial shift in perspective. The source makes it crystal clear that fear isn't just about how severe your symptoms are, it's profoundly connected to two things that we can actually influence: our own psychological resilience and the strength of our support system. This is where we can find our power.
So how does this fear actually work inside our brains? Why does it sometimes feel like it's just spiraling completely out of control? Well, there's a psychological mechanic at play here, a kind of self-perpetuating loop that we need to understand before we can even think about breaking it.
It all starts with something called catastrophic interpretation. Basically, this is when your brain takes a totally neutral physical sensation, maybe some numbness or your feet are sensitive to cold, and it immediately jumps to the worst-case scenario. This has to be a new attack. What the research shows is that our interpretation of the symptom is often a way bigger stressor than the symptom itself. And that interpretation, well, it kicks off this vicious cycle. First, the anxiety creates mental stress. That stress then physically makes MS symptoms, like fatigue, feel worse. And when the symptoms feel worse, it just confirms that initial fear, which cranks up the anxiety. And the cycle just repeats, getting more and more intense each time. Breaking this loop is absolutely key.
Okay, so how do we actually break that cycle? Let's get practical. We're going to build what I like to call a cognitive toolkit, filled with strategies you can use to manage these thought patterns right in the moment and build up your strength for the long haul.
But before we jump into the specific techniques, let's just set the right goal here. This isn't about trying to magically erase fear. Come on, fear is a natural human response. The real goal is to manage it, to get back in the driver's seat of your reaction to it, and to stop it from running the whole show.
All right, here is a powerful three-step technique from the source called Freeze the Drama. So when you feel that wave of panic starting to build, first thing you do is stop and identify it. Give the fear a specific name. Second, delay your reaction. Seriously, tell yourself, okay, brain, you can totally panic about this, but we're going to wait 24 hours. This simple little trick puts your thinking mind back in charge. And third, you reframe the thought.
And here's a perfect example of what that reframing actually looks like. You catch that catastrophic thought, this is a new attack, everything is getting worse. And then you actively, consciously replace it with a balanced, actionable thought like, okay, today is harder, but I am going to focus on one small task I can accomplish right now. Do you see that shift? It moves you from a place of just powerless panic to a place of quiet, focused action.
So that's an amazing in-the-moment tactic. But what about the long-term game? How can we proactively strengthen our mental and emotional fortitude so those waves of fear are just less powerful when they do hit?
The whole idea here is to actively train your brain. It's like a workout for your mind. Learning a new skill, like playing an instrument or studying a language, it forces your brain to use healthy areas and build new neural pathways. It builds up your cognitive endurance and gives you a real sense of control and accomplishment. And practices like mindfulness, they are incredible tools for training your mind to just observe thoughts without getting swept away by them.
And listen, a huge part of building resilience is knowing when it's time to ask for help. If the anxiety, the depression, or the fatigue just becomes overwhelming, seeking professional support is not giving up. It is a proactive, powerful step towards taking back your quality of life. It is an absolute sign of strength.
And that help can be very, very specific. As you can see here, for depression and anxiety, psychotherapy and medication can be life-changing. For that debilitating fatigue or brain fog, neurological rehab and certain medications can really improve alertness. And for that feeling of isolation that uncertainty can create, actively connecting with support groups, with family, with friends, that is a prescribed and powerful treatment in itself.
I really want to end on this incredibly powerful idea from our source material. It just reframes the entire experience. It suggests that the fear itself, that dread of what might happen, if we just stay stuck, can become the very thing that empowers us. It's the catalyst that forces us to make a conscious choice to move forward using our tools and our own strength.
So the big takeaway here is this. You are not powerless in the face of uncertainty. You have a toolkit. You have strategies. The only question left is the one right there on your screen. Which strategy will you choose to start with today? Thanks for tuning in.